What's going on, everyone? It's Tyler, the TV guy here, with another Stranger Things video. This time, I will be breaking down how I would rank each main character season by season. I'll give a quick example so you know what I mean. Say I gave a character a 2, 3, 4, 1 ranking. That would mean I think that character is at their best in season 2 and at their worst in season 1, and so on and so forth. One of the many reasons I like Stranger Things is because I think there's great variation between seasons. Even though there's a cohesive theme, and a cohesive storyline as far as the plot and with the characters from season to season, I do feel like each season has its own distinct feel. And that's something that I'm not getting with a whole lot of other shows, in my opinion. I feel like the seasons kind of just bleed together to some extent. So that's definitely something I love about Stranger Things and that I wanted to explore here in this video, and how it affects the characters and how much I like them from season to season. So we'll start off with Hopper, one of the very best characters in the show. My ranking for Hopper throughout the seasons is 1, 3, 4, 2. So yes, I think Hopper's best season is the original season, season 1. I really think throughout the show, Hopper has been perfectly written, but nothing shows that better than season 1. I love how they parallel his search for Will and trying to help Joyce with his experiences with his own daughter and how she could not overcome leukemia and how he lost her to that. That type of powerful writing is what made Stranger Things so special from the start, and a lot of it was based around Hopper. I do think his second best season is season 3. He's just so exciting to watch, has more of an action role that season. And David Harbour is just such a special actor. He can really make anything work on the show. And a great example of that is season 4. He's basically a completely different guy at this point. He's in Russia. So much has happened to him. We thought he was dead at the end of last season. But of course, he's back. And really, he just nails it with his acting performances, having really long monologues, kind of reflecting on what he's done in his past. And then, yes, I have season 2 as Hopper's worst season. Hopper certainly doesn't do anything wrong this season. I think he's still an extraordinary character and one of the best in the season. It's just, I think he's the best written character in the show, and I think he might be the best actor in the show as well. So he's great every season. I love his moment with 11 at the end of this season when he kind of talks to her about how he's sorry about how he's treated her, but he's just afraid of losing her like he lost his daughter. So he has amazing moments in season 2, and it's really interesting to see how he handles being Eleven's father at this point, basically. But I do think it's the weakest Hopper and the least involved Hopper in some ways of any of the seasons. The next character we have is Joyce, and her ranking is 1, 2, 3, 4. So yes, I do think Joyce has declined throughout every season so far. I'll start from the bottom this time. Season 4, I enjoyed Joyce. I thought she was solid. But I guess this kind of comedic role that she took on alongside Murray just wasn't my favorite version of her. I think it was executed well and it accomplished what it needed to en route to Russia to get Hopper, but it's just not my favorite version of Joyce. Seasons 1 and 2, Joyce, where she's really just obsessed with finding Will and keeping him safe, that is the type of Joyce that I think of when I think of not only her, but of Stranger Things in general. That is like a key component of the show. And I'm kind of sad that it's gotten away from that in seasons 3 and 4. And don't get me wrong, Winona Ryder makes it work in later seasons as well. I just think that ferocity she has and that anger toward this monster haunting her son, essentially, she's like the prototypical mom. I always say it reminds me of my mom, how she would act if something like this happened to me. And I think she just plays that role perfectly. Season 1, so many legendary scenes, the lights, she's running down the street and Jonathan finds her. It's just, she is perfect early on in the show, and I think she's still good. The acting is still good, later on and everything, of course. But yeah, I would say 1 is her best, 4 is her worst. The next character I'm going to get into is Steve Harrington, and I would rank him as 3, 4, 2, 1. Of course, Scoops Ahoy Steve is the best version of Steve. I loved him in season 4 too. I put that narrowly in second place, but that connection he has with Dustin in season 3 is really something special, and also the budding relationship with Robin as well. And even though it's far-fetched to some extent, them getting into that underground lair and how everything worked out, it is just so dang entertaining, and I really love the character dynamics, as I mentioned, with him, Erica, Robin, and Dustin. Season 4 Steve is nothing to sneeze at, though. Really, really interesting character arc, and he, I think, outside of Hopper and maybe Murray, it'd be close with Murray, but I think he has one of the best character arcs in the show, is what I'm trying to say. He's come so far, and his maturity does show in season 4. It was hard to put season 2 Steve as my third favorite version of Steve. because this is where he started becoming likable. He was helping the kids. He really gained his crown of becoming the babysitter in this season. But I really just think they turned him up even more in seasons 3 and 4. He got more involved, just even more likable and funny and witty. And yeah, so season 2 Steve is amazing, but not as good as 3 and 4. And obviously, Steve in season 1 is a much less likable character. He's kind of like a bully, a rude boyfriend, things of that nature. I still thought he was a good character in the show. I thought he was important. I thought he was played well. It's just, the least likable. So naturally, it's going to come last when he's a great character in other seasons and just plays the role so well. That leads us into Nancy, and as far as how I like Nancy, I would rank it 4, 1, 2, 3. This is the first character I've said I think is the best in season 4. And yeah, I think Nancy was just so strong in season 4. This season showed her leadership, her bravery, just had some epic scenes involving her, when she falls into the upside down, when she's the one with the shotgun shooting Vecna in the finale. She also just has some of the most interesting relationship dynamics in the show, of course, with the love triangle of Jonathan and now Steve coming back into the equation, and also her budding relationship with Robin. Obviously, in this case, a friendly relationship. But yeah, I would say season 1 Nancy is the second best version of her character. It's interesting to see the loss of Barb and how that affects her, and also how that affects the other relationships in her life. Season 2, she's just with Jonathan most of the time. Pretty solid season for her. But season 3 is my least favorite, even though I don't really think Nancy has a bad season. She's still pretty solid in season 3, still pretty interesting. Just, I feel like they didn't do the best job in season 3 with a lot of these characters. They didn't really give her or a lot of the other characters a spotlight in season 3 or anything super interesting that developed her character any further. And naturally, next we have Jonathan. The way I would rank him is 2, 1, 3, 4. Jonathan has always been a steady character. Obviously, he's not flashy. I don't hear many people saying Jonathan's their favorite character or even in their top 5, and understandably so. But I think he's been super consistent, really, except for season 4, which obviously I just said that's my least favorite version of him. And you're going to see a theme with that as I get to more of the members of the California crew. I really just don't think they did the best job with that storyline and making those characters interesting or making anything that they did like very consequential at all. But yeah, I think season 2 Jonathan is probably the best. At Murray's house, kind of trying to take out Hawkins' lab. Season 1 Jonathan was solid, kind of trying to balance losing his brother with still supporting his mother. And then, like a lot of the other characters in season 3, like, he was cool. Like, they were all entertaining in season 3. It's just like nothing too crazy happened with most of them. They were all just kind of in a group coming around, and they had some fun scenes, some funny quotables, but nothing too significant in season 3, so I have that as my third favorite Jonathan. Next, we're going to move on to Mike, who I rank as 1, 2, 3, 4. So just like Joyce, I think Mike has gotten worse every season. And also like Joyce, this isn't to say that I don't enjoy Mike at all in later seasons. I think he's still a very solid character in seasons 3 and 4. But, he's just not the same as he was in season 1 for sure. Season 1 Mike was an amazing friend, and he really just had so many great personality traits. As the show has gone on, I think, he's had slightly less to do, has been slightly less involved. Obviously, he's still a main character. Don't get me wrong, but I think he is slightly less important. I think in season 1, he was like one of the main characters. It was like him, Eleven, and Hopper, and Joyce. Those were like the main characters early on in the show, and I definitely wouldn't put him in that category after season 1. I have season 2 as his second best season because although I think he's already kind of taking a back seat already in season 2, I do think he's still in a state in which I like his personality. There are definitely things you can point to in seasons 3 and 4 that just make him less likable, and you can point out things that show he isn't the best friend. And yeah, he just doesn't have that special feel to him that he had in season 1. As Will mentions in season 4, like, Mike is the heart of the group. I definitely would have agreed with that sentiment in seasons 1 and 2, but I just don't feel that way in the latter 2 seasons. So yeah, Mike is honestly one of my favorite characters in the show. I still enjoy him, but I just don't think there's anything too special about his character after season 2. Next is Dustin, who I rank 3, 4, 1, 2. I'm not going to lie, Dustin might have been the hardest character on this entire list. He is such a great character throughout. There's not a season where he goes in a slump or a season where he's just so-so or that he's not super involved, just as far as the writing. Like, he is perfect basically throughout every season, and I really appreciate his character and the performances Gaten Matarazzo is put on throughout. But ultimately, Dustin is a super funny and super intelligent character, and I just tried to pick which seasons I thought I had the most fun with him, and I thought he helped the crew the most. And I don't think I could have any more fun with a character than I did with him in season 3. He's just hilarious throughout. Obviously, him bantering back and forth with Steve, which continues into season 4. Man, it's just so great. Their whole storyline in season 3, really one of the highlights of the season. He also has like the coolest outfit in the show in that season. But yeah, into season 4. Season 4 could be better than season 3. These two are honestly interchangeable. But yeah, I think Dustin's character is aging like fine wine. He is just getting arguably better and better, even though, like I said, consistent all the way throughout. But in season 4, he played such a crucial role in understanding things about Vecna, in uncovering things about Vecna, and about how to communicate with the others in the Upside Down. He's just like obviously a super bright kid that really helps the group, and it's just super satisfying to see him uncover these riddles. Having season 1 Dustin in the 3rd slot here feels like a travesty. He was such a cute kid, first of all, but also just, a really good actor for that age. His character was lovable. He was always the mediator between Mike and Lucas when they would bicker in season 1. And he, just like Mike, was always loving and accepting of Eleven from day one. He's really just the ultimate likable character. And I have season 2 in last just because there's nowhere else to put it, but he was still good in season 2. Don't get me wrong. All right, next is Lucas, and my ranking for Lucas is 2, 4, 1, 3. I'm going to start from the bottom here. Season 3 I have as Lucas's worst season, and I think Lucas is maybe at his most likable in season 3, meaning like just his character every time he's on the screen in season 3, it like puts a smile on my face. He says something funny or just does something nice. But like I mentioned earlier, I don't think a lot of these characters had like strong storylines in season 3. I think they were all just kind of doing the same thing. That group of Nancy, Jonathan, Lucas, Max, Will, Mike, they were all just kind of bundled in and doing the same thing. So each character was a little generic storyline wise in season 3, and I think he fell into that as well. I think season 2 is really important for Lucas. I think he kind of breaks out of that shell of being pretty stubborn and obnoxious in season 1 to some degree, even though I understand why he acted the way he did in season 1. He was trying to stay focused on finding Will, and his friends were all focused on Eleven and her powers, and he said he didn't care about any of that. So I understand where he was coming from. But season 2 is where Lucas really took a leap for me and became one of the more likable characters in the show. I loved his growing relationship with Max, and I just found all of his dialogue in this season to be super interesting. Season 4 Lucas is just behind season 2 as my second favorite version of Lucas, and wow, he is spectacular in season 4. The acting, especially in volume 2, so the last 2 episodes, it's amazing. Him and Max, their relationship went to another level of greatness. It's by far my favorite relationship in the show at this point. And yeah, just so many epic scenes with him in season 4. He's got a cool aesthetic. Everything is great with Lucas in season 4. So I really enjoyed it. But yeah, my ranking with him is 2, 4, 1, 3. 2 being my favorite, 3 being my least favorite, in case you forgot the format. Next, I have Will, and I would rank Will 2, 1, 3, 4. So season 2 is far and away my favorite season for Will. It's not even close. The main thing here is just the physical acting from Will and the depth of his character in this season are the 2 main factors that make it by far his best. At this point, the plot of the show basically revolves around Will, so of course he's one of, if not the most important character in the show. And it was really interesting to see how like the Mind Flayer was still connected to him even after season 1. They got him out of the Upside Down. We kind of thought we'd be past that a little bit, but no, it's still very much inside of him, and really interesting to follow him throughout the season. And yeah, his acting in the hospital was honestly really good, and I'm disappointed that Noah Schnapp's acting, in my opinion, has kind of fallen off since. I don't know if that's just they're not writing him well enough or what's going on, but I haven't been impressed with his acting in seasons 3 and 4, especially 4. That's why I have season 4 as my least favorite version of Will. To add on to that, in season 4, he does like a lot of staring and, fake crying that doesn't look very good in my opinion. No hate to Noah Schnapp. I do think he's a good actor generally, but something's off in season 4. And I don't know if it's weird to put season 1 as my second favorite version of Will, because I realized he actually wasn't on screen all that much. But, there was the whole thing with, the song and them looking for him, and he was still like one of the centerpieces of the show. So I think it was really important. So I think he was really important, and I did enjoy the time he was on screen in season 1 more so than I did in season 3 or 4. Seasons 3 and 4 might be like my least favorite period for any character in this show, honestly. Next, we're going to look into 11. Of course, 11, the face of the show, was really tough to rank on this one. But my ranking is going to be 2, 1, 3, 4. Now, I think an argument can be made that seasons 1 through 3, any of those 3 seasons could be her best season. Like, I'm literally a smidge away from putting season 3, 11 as my favorite. Meanwhile, it ends up as my third favorite. So, but yeah, ultimately, I just think season 2, we learn a lot about her backstory, and her being held in captivity kind of shows more about her personality rather than just this scared girl like we see in season 1. And yeah, I thought her coming back and saving the day and then closing the gate was one of the most visually pleasing scenes in the history of the show. So yeah, season 2, 11 is great. Season 1 is my second favorite, barely in between these two. Season 1 is my second favorite version of 11, and I think the wow factor with 11 was at an all-time high. Obviously, early on in the show, every time she would use her powers, it was very shocking to me. She flipped the van, and, she saved Mike from falling off the cliff, and then she broke Troy's arm. So, just these epic uses of her powers early on in the show were really mind-boggling for the viewer. I think more so than later on in the show, because obviously you just expect it. That's kind of what she does. That's her thing. But yeah, the mystery around her early in the show is really what made her special. And obviously just good acting, good writing, all that stuff too. But yeah, season 3, 11 might be the most fun 11. Also, some really crazy uses of her powers in this season as well. The fight with Billy was outstanding. And yeah, this might be her most interesting season for relationships as well. Her and Mike have some turbulence. She develops a friendship with Max. And, she mingles with a lot of the other characters more so than in the first 2 seasons. Season 4, 11 was good. 11's always going to be a good character no matter what. But I just don't think it quite stacks up to the prior seasons. I thought her backstory was really interesting to learn about. But I didn't love her early on in season 4, and it's just, I don't know, it wasn't the same as the first 3 seasons, but I still enjoyed it, and I think stripping her of her powers in the prior season was very essential. I think that's a great writing decision by the Duffer Brothers. The last 2 characters I'm going to do here will be a little quicker because they were only in 3 seasons. I didn't do any characters that were in 2 seasons or less. So Erica, Robin, Billy, etc., none of them are going to be on here because I'd just be ranking 2 seasons. But here I have Max, and I would rank her as comfortably 4, 2, 3. Season 4 Max is the best character in any individual season. In Stranger Things history, I will die on that hill. Season 2 Max was solid. I liked her introduction to the show. I didn't think she was written perfectly early on, but all in all, an enjoyable character, and made the other characters in the friend group more interesting as well. And then season 3 Max, once again, she kind of falls into the zone that a lot of the other characters did in season 3, where it was just like, okay, she's taking Eleven shopping. She's mad at Lucas. Like, what else is she doing? I didn't love Max in season 3. One of my least favorite characters in that season, along with Will. And the final character I will be going through today is Murray. And I would rank him seasons 3, 4, and then 2. Season 3 Murray, I feel like, encompasses every part of his personality. You get him being real paranoid at times. You get him being like a real smart aleck at times, being super straightforward, being super sad when Alexi dies, and, being a trooper, being super helpful in the underground Russian lair. Season 4 Murray was good. He's a great comedic actor. I just think season 3 was a little more well-rounded. And then my least favorite Murray is season 2. I almost didn't include him in this because he's basically a 2-season character, but he is in like a few episodes in season 2 and has a lot of lines because Jonathan and Nancy come to his house and visit him, and he has one of the best punchlines in the whole show with the whole pull-out joke. But I still think it's his worst because he's not really a main character yet. But yeah, guys, that is it. I hope you guys understood the premise of this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Like I mentioned earlier, I think Stranger Things really thrives on differentiating between the seasons, and I think it's interesting to look at how the characters are different through the seasons, and where I liked them in some spots, and how they were written in some seasons more than others. All right, everybody, thank you for watching. Hit the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoyed. Until next time, see you later.